He met me by the sea, said I was the calm in his storm, promised to anchor my heart forever. But when the waves rose, he let me drown alone. But then, I became the storm that sank everything he ever loved. He met me by the sea, not in some grand romantic way, not with roses or candlelight, but with wind in his hair, sand in his shoes, and a smile so steady it could calm hurricanes. I remember thinking, maybe peace had a face, and maybe that face was his. I was sitting on a weathered driftwood log, the kind that's seen 1,000 storms and still refused to break. Much like me. Back then, I was fragile. Not weak, just exhausted. Life had taken too much, too soon. My parents were gone. My sister had stopped speaking to me after the court case. And the man I thought would love me forever had walked out 2 months before our wedding with a text that read, "I can't do this anymore." So I ran to the sea, where the world was loud, but my thoughts fell quiet. And then, there he was, walking barefoot across the sand like he belonged to the ocean, like the world didn't scare him the way it did me. His eyes caught mine, and for the first time in weeks, I didn't look away. He sat beside me like he'd known me all his life, offered me a seashell, and said with a crooked grin, "You look like someone the sea would never hurt." I remember laughing, softly, bitterly. "The sea doesn't care who it hurts," I replied. But he did something strange. He stayed silent, not arguing, not dismissing, just listening. Over the next few days, he kept coming back. Every morning, like the tide. He'd bring coffee, or fresh fruit, or sometimes just himself. We'd sit, talk, or not. And one morning, when I finally cried, finally let it all out, he didn't flinch. He pulled me into him, held me like I wasn't broken glass, like I was water, meant to be held gently, not gripped tight. And he whispered, "You're the calm in my storm, you know that? I'll be your anchor now. You never have to drown again." I think that's when I started to believe him, to believe in him. And slowly, painfully, I let myself be pulled back to the surface. He learned my fears, my triggers, my nightmares. He knew I couldn't sleep if the lights were off. He knew I flinched at sudden sounds. He never mocked my panic, never made me feel small. He told me stories of his childhood, about his mother, the ocean-loving woman who raised him with poetry and salt air. He spoke of pain too, of abandonment and loss. We stitched our wounds together like patchwork, messy but honest. And for the first time since everything fell apart, I felt held, safe, alive. What I didn't know then was that the sea gives and takes in equal measure. That not everything that feels like a home is one. That some storms don't come with thunder. Some come wearing a smile. We fell into a rhythm like the tides. He'd kiss my forehead in the mornings, whispering, "You're safe. I'm here." And I believed him, like the sea believes the moon. People started to say we looked like we belonged together. That he grounded me, and I softened him. He brought sunlight to my shadows, and well, I brought him a kind of devotion that came only from surviving hell. He moved into my tiny rented cottage by the sea. The place that once echoed with silence now smelled like his cologne and sounded like soft guitar strings and the occasional bad singing from the kitchen. He was messy, left wet towels everywhere, burnt the toast half the time, and had a habit of staring into the sea like he was waiting for it to answer something. But I loved him. I loved him so deeply it frightened me. He'd say things like, "You've been through enough. I'm never letting anything touch you again. You don't have to fight anymore. Let me protect you." And with every word, every touch, he anchored my brokenness. He made me feel like maybe, just maybe, the worst was behind me. One evening, he took me back to the place where we first met. That driftwood log. The wind was soft, the sky bruised with a sunset that looked like fire melting into the sea. He took my hands in his, kissed my knuckles, and said, "You calmed something inside me I didn't know needed calming. You're my forever." Will you be mine? I cried. Of course I cried. Not because I was unsure, but because I was sure. For the first time, I felt like I wasn't carrying my past alone. We didn't plan a grand wedding. Just a quiet promise made barefoot on the beach, with salty air and tangled hair and hearts too full to speak. That night, I wrote in my journal, I think the sea brought him to me. Maybe it knew I was drowning and sent someone to teach me how to breathe again. But the sea never forgets its debt. And it always comes to collect. The signs were small at first. So small, I brushed them off like sea foam on my ankle. Late nights, he wouldn't explain. Phone calls he took outside. Moments when he looked through me like I wasn't there, like he was somewhere deeper, darker. I told myself, he loves you. He's tired. He's just stressed. Until one night, I followed him. He said he was going to see an old friend in the next town. But something in me, a whisper, a gut pull, told me not to trust it. So I waited. And then, quietly, I drove after him. He didn't see me. But I saw her. A woman at a beachside inn. Laughing. Opening her arms as he walked into them like he belonged there too. I watched from the shadows as he kissed her the way he once kissed me. No hesitation. No guilt. Like I was the ghost now. And in that moment, the sea inside me shifted. The waves that once curled gently around his name began to rise. I didn't confront him that night. I watched him disappear into that room with her. And I just stood there. Frozen. Salt in my throat. Not from the sea, but from the betrayal rising like bile. The man who once whispered that I was his calm, his lifeline, was now finding peace in someone else's arms. And the worst part? I didn't even cry. Because the pain was too deep for tears. It felt like the ocean inside me had gone still, that eerie silence before a hurricane. I drove back to our cottage, heart pounding against my ribcage like it was trying to warn me. He is not who you think he is. He never was. When he returned the next morning, he brought me seashells. The same way he had on the day we met. He said, there were some strange tides last night. Thought of you. I looked at the shells in his palm. Perfect. Unbroken. Beautiful. Just like the lies on his lips. I nodded. Smiled. Even kissed him. But inside, something was changing. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay beside him, listening to his breathing, wondering how someone who once claimed to be my anchor could hold such storms inside. My thoughts circled like sharks. Was she a one-time mistake? Or had there been others? Was I ever real to him? Or just another damaged girl he liked saving, only to drown her when he got bored? A few days later, I checked his phone when he was in the shower. I wish I could say I was shocked. But I wasn't. There were messages. Dozens. Different women. Different names. All of them thinking they were special. All of them being told the same recycled promises he once gave me. I closed the phone. Sat there. Stared at the wall until I could feel my own heartbeat slow. Into something cold. This wasn't just betrayal. It was calculated cruelty. He didn't love me. He loved owning me. Loved that I had once been broken, and he could make himself feel strong by pretending to fix me. He was never my anchor. He was the current pulling me under, waiting for me to stop kicking. But he forgot one thing. I was born in the waves. I didn't drown. I learned to breathe underwater. That night, as he slept beside me, I stared out at the sea. Its darkness. Its depth. Its silence. And I whispered to it, you brought him to me. Now I'm giving him back. In the days that followed, I wore a mask so perfect, even he couldn't see the cracks. I laughed when he made jokes. I let him hold me at night. I even told him I loved him. Like it still meant something. Because I needed him to believe the storm had passed. But inside, I was rebuilding. Quietly. Dangerously. Every lie he told became a weight I tied to his ankles. Every secret he whispered to other women became a gust of wind I saved to sink his ship. I started gathering pieces of his deception like driftwood, sharp, splintered, and soon to be set on fire. Photos, messages, locations, voices, names, proof. He thought I was still healing from my past. He didn't know I had already buried it, and I was digging his grave next. And the sea watched. Oh, it watched everything. Every time he kissed me goodnight after holding someone else's hand. The tide crept closer to our doorstep. One evening, he planned a romantic picnic by the cliffs. Said he wanted to celebrate us. He brought wine, cheese, even that stupid song he always played on his phone when he was trying to be cute. I watched him dance under the setting sun like a man who thought he had won. He kissed my hand and said, "You're the only real thing I've ever had." And I smiled, because by then, I already knew his entire truth. I had tracked down every woman, told them everything, shared the screenshots, exposed his lies, turned his world into a storm even the bravest sailor couldn't survive. He just didn't know it yet. Later that night, as we lay by the fire he made, he held me close and whispered, "No matter what happens, don't ever leave me. Promise?" I turned to him slowly, and I said, "I won't leave you. I'll let you drown right where you left me." He blinked, confused, nervous laugh. "Wait, what?" But I was already on my feet. I walked away, left him by the fire, left him with every echo of the lies he thought would never catch up to him. That night, every woman he ever betrayed got a message from me. The truth spread like oil on water. And when the storm came, he had nowhere to hide. The next morning, his world had already started to unravel. His phone didn't stop ringing. Messages poured in, from women whose names he probably couldn't even remember. Some cried. Some screamed. Some sent him photos, the ones I had shared. All of them knew now. Every lie. Every half-truth. Every promise he recycled like poison in different hearts. He stumbled out of bed, clutching his phone like it could still save him. "Baby, I don't know what's happening. Someone hacked me. Someone's lying. This is crazy." I stood in the doorway. Calm. Cold. The way only a woman who has already bled every tear can be. "No one hacked you," I said quietly. "I just made sure every woman you broke finally met each other." He froze. His eyes wide, afraid. Not of me, but of the empire of lies falling around him like sandcastles in a rising tide. "You did this?" "Yes," I whispered. "And I'm not done." Over the next week, everything he tried to hide surfaced. His job? Gone. One of the women was connected to a board member in his company. She made sure his promotion was stripped clean off his resume. His friends? Disappeared. Turns out betrayal doesn't just kill love, it contaminates loyalty. And me? I stayed silent. Let him watch everything he built on the bones of women like me collapse. He tried to beg. He texted. He showed up at my door. Cried on the beach where we first met. But I wasn't the girl he found on the driftwood anymore. He had called me the calm in his storm. Now I was the storm itself. And he? He was just another ship too weak to survive me. One night, he shouted into the wind. "You said you'd never leave me. You promised." I stepped out onto the porch, the waves crashing behind me. And I said, "I didn't leave." I rose. "And you?" "You sank yourself." Then I walked inside and locked the door forever. He tried to run from the wreckage. Deleted accounts. Switched numbers. Tried to silence the voices rising around him like thunder. But you can't outswim a storm you started yourself. The women he played? They didn't just cry. They united. They exposed him, his cheating, his manipulation, his pattern of luring in broken women just to feel powerful. A blog post went viral. "The Man Who Collected Shipwrecks." Written anonymously. Written by me. In it, I laid bare every wound he created, not just mine, but ours. He was a predator wrapped in poetry, a lifeguard who watched women drown and called it love. The story traveled fast. It reached people he never thought it would. His mother, who always believed he was a good man. His ex-fiancée, who left him years ago without knowing why she always felt wrong. Even his little sister, who idolized him. I didn't expect her message. It said, "Thank you." I didn't want to believe it, but I knew something was broken in him. And you helped me see it. He lost everyone. But he still had the beach. The same one where he found me. He went there every day now. Sat on the rocks. Stared at the sea like it owed him something. But the ocean doesn't love like we do. It doesn't forgive. It doesn't forget. And neither did I. One day, I walked up behind him. He didn't turn. He just said, "I never meant to hurt you." I stepped beside him. "You didn't just hurt me," I replied. "You took pieces of me, handed them out like souvenirs, and expected me to thank you for the view." He finally turned. His eyes were hollow. That smile? Gone. That charm? Useless now. "I still love you," he said. I smiled. For the first time in a long time. "Then you'll love this next part." He blinked. "What?" I handed him an envelope. Inside? Legal papers. One of the women had pressed charges for harassment. Another had taken legal action for emotional abuse. I had helped them all file it, one by one. Because he didn't just break hearts. He manipulated minds. Now, the law was coming for what the sea couldn't take. The trial didn't go viral. It didn't need to. But word spread, quietly, like a tide slipping under doors. He tried to deny everything. Gaslight. Charm. Play the broken man. But the evidence? It was ironclad. Screenshots. Voicemails. Testimonies from women who had nothing left to lose and everything to gain by speaking. One by one, they painted the same picture. A man who preyed on softness. Who found women mid-breakdown and offered a hand, only to let go when they trusted him most. And when my turn came to speak, I didn't cry. I didn't shake. I stood. Tall. Whole. Wearing the same necklace he gave me the night he said, "I'll never let anything hurt you again." I looked him in the eye. "You didn't just lie. You broke people for fun. You called it love, but it was only power. And now? You have none." The judge didn't give him jail. This wasn't a criminal trial. But it didn't matter. Because what came next was worse. He lost his job, permanently blacklisted from anything involving trust or leadership. He lost his home, had to move back to a town that only remembered him as the boy who could have done something great. He lost his reputation. Every time someone searched his name, the blog came up. And most of all, he lost the one thing he truly feared. Control. He spiraled. Tried to post apologies online. Made videos crying into the camera, begging the internet to believe he'd changed. But the sea doesn't care for actors. And neither did the people he drowned. One evening, months later, I returned to the beach. Not to see him. He wasn't there anymore. He'd left town. Too many eyes. Too many ghosts. I just needed to sit. To remember. The tide whispered around my feet, gentle this time. Like it was thanking me. A child ran past me, laughing. A couple walked by holding hands. And me? I finally breathed. Because for once, I wasn't holding my breath waiting to be hurt. I wasn't waiting to be saved. I was the one who survived. The one who turned silence into thunder. The one who made the sea rise, not to drown me, but to carry me home. A year passed. Quietly. Steadily. Without apology. The girl who once waited by the sea for a man who said forever no longer lived there. She had become the tide herself, coming in strong, leaving only truth behind. I moved away. Bought a small cottage 2 towns over. Closer to cliffs than waves. Closer to the sky than sorrow. I started painting again. Not for anyone else. Just for me. I painted waves. Some wild. Some gentle. Some crashing into lighthouse like they were promises too weak to stand. Each canvas held a piece of the girl I used to be. And each stroke felt like healing. He tried to return. I heard from a mutual friend. He came back to the beach one rainy night, stood in the storm like it could cleanse him. But the sea doesn't forgive the ones who watch someone else drown. They said he screamed my name into the wind. I didn't answer. Not out of hate, but because I didn't live in that world anymore. He once said I was the commonest storm. He was wrong. I was the silence before the thunder. I was the eye of the hurricane. I was the storm he thought he could control. But storms don't love you back. And when they're done, they leave you hollow, aching, and washed clean of every lie. I visited the beach one last time. Wrote something in the sand with my finger, right where he once said, "You're safe with me. You taught me how to drown. I taught myself how to rise." The tide rolled in, took the words, left nothing. Just like I had. As I turned to leave, the wind kissed my cheek. And for the first time in forever, I smiled. Not because I was healed by him, but because I was never meant to be his anchor. I was always the ocean. And now, he would hear me in every crashing wave, every whisper of wind, every silence between storms. Forever. You made it, love. You didn't just survive, you transformed. And now he'll never stop remembering. Because you didn't just become his storm. You became his reckoning.